The speed of light becomes very important, and we'll cover this a couple times in these discussions of Genesis. The fixed speed of light of being 3,000 kilometers per second poses a very great difficulty for biblical believers of a young earth and universe. If it takes 20 billion years for light from the most distant galaxies to travel to the earth at a speed enshrined by Einstein's relativity, then that light had to be emitted 20 billion years ago, or it had to be created in transit. Einstein's special relativity would eliminate a credible young universe possibility. Conversely, it is impossible with the Big Bang theory. You think we have problems. The Big Bang theory, it would be impossible for the distant galaxies to travel out from a Big Bang to their present positions, even traveling at Einstein's speed, and then send light to the earth in less than 20 to 40 billion years. They have a great problem. However, Maxwell, who developed our laws of electromagnetism, his 4 equations, derived from those equations the speed of light in the mid-1880s. This is 50 years before Einstein. And contrary to Einstein's 1905 special relativity, his derivation means that the speed of light will approach nearly infinite speeds in weak electromagnetic fields of deep space, far from the celestial bodies composed of all matter is made out of electrical subatomic particles, electrons and protons. These create electromagnetic fields that go out into infinite space. As you can see in this equation, C is equal to 1 over, and this is permeability times the square root of the permeability times the permittivity. These are just electromagnetic constants that vary with the strength of the fields. If the strength of the field becomes very small, because this is on the denominator, then the speed of light goes up. If these fields became very strong, like in a diamond, then the speed of light drops, just like Maxwell explained. However, celestial systems are made out of these charges. And as you move away from them, their fields become very weak. What does that mean to the speed of light? From Maxwell's derivation, it goes right through the ceiling. They'll never hit zero. These are infinite fields. There's no place that there's zero electromagnetic fields. However, the speed of light will approach infinity. What that means is Adam and Eve could have seen almost all of the 7,000 visible stars in today's sky on the 6th day of creation. Even more importantly, we today, with our most powerful telescopes, can see the most distant galaxies in 6,000 years later. Here we have a picture of a deep field shot that I've shown before. What it shows is they cranked up the Hubble telescope, aimed it out perpendicular to our plane into deep space. And all you see, there's only one star that it captured from our own galaxy, the Milky Way. The rest of these are all galaxies disappearing into the distance. We can actually see deep into space at least 13 billion, what they would say light years. It's actually closer to 10 to the 20th or 21st kilometers out there, disappearing into the distance. If these were from a Big Bang, they'd have to be blown out there and send light back to us in the same time. And that's not possible according to the laws of physics. These things would have burned out long ago. So what are we looking at in these deep field shots? New or ancient light? Is it Maxwell's true or Einstein? Do we have a new universe or an old universe? What was mankind like before the flood? We've talked a little bit about mankind after Adam and before Noah. But in the pre-flood human race, we'll call it the antediluvian, it's a fancy term. It means before the deluge or the flood. They had longevity. They averaged over 900 years old. Many of the antediluvian race were giants, according to Genesis 6:4. probably, as we've mentioned, the product of fallen angels and the daughters of men from 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 6. These demigod giants, offspring of men and angels, were probably the basis of the heroes of ancient mythology: Atlas, Hercules, who had one human parent and one God parent. In contrast to the wickedness of this perverse generation, you have, as I mentioned, Enoch, whom God translated before the flood out of his evil generation. Enoch pronounced judgment on his generation. His rapture and godly life serve as a foreshadowing of the rapture of the church before the great tribulation that comes upon the earth. Before the flood of Noah, the sin of these ungodly sexual unions and the sinful actions of the antediluvian race resulted in God's judgment to destroy all land animals, including man, in the whole earth by a worldwide flood. Noah, as we've mentioned, a preacher of righteousness, is chosen by God to build an ark for the saving of himself, of his family, and of the mates of all the animals and birds on the earth. God has some provision also for and grace toward the animals and that existed in birds before. The flood will kill all land animals and birds of the antediluvian world and will change the geophysics of the earth and its climate forever. After the flood, we'll get to that later too, God establishes his covenant with Noah and his descendants. That's all of mankind now. Originally they came from Adam. They're destroyed except for this one line of Noah. And all of the humans that exist on the earth came from Noah and his descendants. He sets up a new dispensation for all of mankind, which continues to today. This new dispensation establishes human government. There was none before the flood of Noah. No police, no courts, no kings, etc. The governments are given a right of judgment, including capital punishment. They allow diets to eat for the eating of meat, and they place the fear of man in animals, God did. Also, as we've seen, the age of man declines exponentially over successive generations to 120 years, according to God's judgment to decrease man's lifespan. God's view of the antediluvian mankind. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. Genesis 6:12. I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping things and birds of the air. Genesis 6:7. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Genesis 6:8. And God said to Noah, this is in Genesis 6:14, make an ark for yourself. He went, this is talking about Noah, and he preached to the spirits in prison, who formerly were disobedient, when once the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah while the ark was being prepared. This is in 1 Peter 3:19-20. In other words, while Noah was building this ark, and it looks like it took 100 years because he began it in his 500th year and he finished it in his 600th year, and his sons helped him build this ark. And so during this period of time, he's preaching and he's telling these people judgment's coming. Of course, they probably laughed at him, these giants. Who's this guy? Who do we care what you say? And besides, you're a foolish man building a boat up on dry land at a time when there wasn't even any rain. What's significant about this too is that his father, Methuselah, died in the year of the flood. We have no mention of Methuselah, his father, helping him during these 100 years to build it. Or Lamech, his grandfather, who died 5 years before the flood. No mention of them helping him build this ark. Only he and his 3 sons, and their wives, of course, helping them. But during this period of time, Noah preaches, and he explains to them the judgment that's coming ahead because of their sinful ways. Just like his predecessor Enoch had told them before. Now the time is closing. God's judgment's determined, and Noah begins to build the ark. But he warns the people during this period of time.